So I was in the shower, I was cleaning my ass and making all shirts all sparkly, spanky clean.
I'm not the funny one, I'm the pretty one.
Cock shots. I just checked myself out.
Candles, music, wine, and then lube up and get on top.
The glory hole's like a dick theater. I've imagined your family.
Which means your pants had better come off. Mama needs playtime. I do that.
We're not sluts.
We just love love.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, podcast land. This is Bradford.
And this is Angela.
And you're listening to By the By.
Oh, you're working on your radio voice, are you?
I am.
Yeah.
I have a face for radio.
I like your face.
And an attitude for porn. I like your face too.
Uh-huh.
I like your face. Hi, podcast listeners, and thank you for putting up with already my iPad making noises because the gentleman is texting us. We're talking to you, gentlemen. Stop it. Jeez. Tell you.
Well, we're talking to him, but it's not real time.
I know.
Yeah.
It's real sometime. So yeah, hi, how you doing? What do we have coming up? So you just missed the Pendulum party, which was amazing. We're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
We've got in October 20th.
19th?
What the fuck, I don't know. It's a Friday. That's either the 19th or the 20th. I'm so
You're
bad.
doing well.
I don't adult very well, and I calendar even worse. Fine. It's a Saturday, the 20th. Is that right?
19th.
God damn it. Son of...
You got 50% of it right there.
I guess, but that's right. It's a Friday, the 19th. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I knew it that time. Anyway, we're going to be in Radelaide at the Rabbit Hole for their second Rainbow Party. We are so excited for this. It's going to be so much fun. The last Rainbow Party was a blast, and looking forward to going back to this one. I don't know how often we'll be able to make it down to Rainbow Parties, but it is definitely going to be high on our list. So it's going to be fun. So, we're going to be there. And then after that, like literally after that, 10 days, we are flying overseas. We're going to be at Desire from November 2nd to the 9th. I think there's like 12 rooms left. So like every time you talk to us or you listen to us, there are less rooms left. So
exciting.
If you're on the fence, fucking jump off the fence.
And into Desire.
And into Desire.
Yes.
There are two couples now from Australia coming, us and another couple.
Yay, we're not the only ones.
We're not the only ones. But everyone else is from the US and Mexico and Canada. Yeah. So North America, we should say. So we need more representation from outside of North America, I think. Come on, folks.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So our costumes have been pretty well set for a bit now.
Yes.
We've been doing a few final touches on them.
We've done a few practice runs.
The last couple of weekends, we've done a few practice runs on some makeup bits. Yeah. So that's really, really exciting.
I'm pretty excited. Any costume that needs multiple practice runs, I think is a good costume. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll fucking see.
I don't know. Yeah. Hopefully.
One of mine today, I was very, very excited with the way it turned out. Yes. Some of the product I bought today, I was very excited the way it turned out. And I think it was interesting. We went to both Sephora and Mecca, I believe. Sephora, the lady kind of looked at me like I was crazy when I was asking about makeup. And every time I asked a question, she answered you, which I thought was such that opposite of the way the world typically works, because I know that one of your pet peeves is when you pay and they give me the change back and shit like that. It was the world has gone topsy-turvy. So every time I asked a question about makeup, Angela was answered, which cracked me up, and it was weird. But then we went to Mecca, and the lady was very much talking straight to me, and like, this is what I would do, and blah,
she
blah,
was
blah,
really
blah.
helpful.
And she was really helpful. I really liked her.
Even like, try this, or what if you use this product in a different way?
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny. So good job, Mecca. Sephora, get your shit together.
Well, at this one particular mall in Sydney.
Look. I have an N of 1 in both, and a 100% and a 25%. So there you go.
Fair enough.
But it was a lot of fun. Excited for that, and then that's basically our year. I'm sure other things will pop up, but right now that's.
Well, and if you want to go on a sexy cruise in December over Christmas, we're going to be going. So send us a message. It's not a swingers thing. It's just us going on holiday thing.
Yeah. It is. And so if you feel
but
like...
always happy for sexy people to join in.
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel like just having open, friendly conversations and lots of alcohol and some really good food and ultimately potentially playtime, if everything works, sure, come along with us.
It's also over Christmas, so you get to ditch the family for Christmas.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to, yeah.
And we don't have that problem because we have no family here, but...
No, but yeah.
Anybody, most people do.
Pretty excited.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else in the up and comings and stuff that we want to talk about?
Not in the immediate, no.
I do want to tease the people a little more in that one of the things that we're taking to Desire with us, a giveaway for everyone who comes to Desire. It's amazing. And Angela packed 2 suitcases full of it today, and she's got one in her hands now.
No, it's only 1 half suitcase and 1, I don't know, other partial, so they'll probably all end up in one.
Can you make it make a noise? That way people can try to guess. That's what it is. There you go. Guess
what it is.
So we're pretty stoked for that.
Yeah.
Pretty excited.
Yeah, I actually really, really like them. So we'll see if everybody else likes them as much as I do. And if not, well, then more for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So moving on to our meat and taters, one of the things I wanted to talk about, because last week, if you listened, if you didn't, that's fine. You can stop right now and go back and listen to last week.
Demanding much, are we?
Yeah. But last week we talked about jealousy, envy, and fear of missing out, FOMO. So for me, something that sort of walks hand in hand with those, it's a parallel kind of thing, is guilt and shame. Because I feel like for me, sometimes when I have envy or feel those pangs of jealousy, specifically those two, maybe not fear of missing out, I have maybe guilt and sometimes shame over things that I feel and do. So I wanted to sort of touch on those before we moved along.
So do you have the guilt and the shame because of the jealous or envious feelings, or is it because of what triggered the feelings, or potentially both?
That's a great question, and I was completely unprepared for that question. I was prepared for many other questions. So you're asking, is it because of the feeling itself or because of what has caused said feeling?
Yes.
I really am not sure I know. First, I think I want to use Brene Brown's definitions of guilt and shame. If you don't know who Brene Brown is, she runs some amazing TED Talks, and she's got a few fantastic books. She's a lady from Texas, Brene Brown. She says guilt is feeling that you have done something wrong. And shame is feeling that you are wrong. And while those feelings, I think, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. I think it's extremely important to know the difference between I feel like I've done something wrong and I feel like there's something wrong with me.
Yeah. And I feel like the line between the two is about as thin as the line between jealousy and envy as well.
Agreed. But
it is a very important distinction, and upon first glance at your feelings, it can be perhaps difficult to figure out whether it's guilt or shame. But if you look at it for more than a couple seconds, you can probably figure out which one it actually is.
Yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes I feel like for me, it's not maybe 100% one or another. Yeah. It's mostly something, but not necessarily completely something. So yeah, I think that it's one of those things to remember that I think shame is completely worthless. I know it's being someone who feels shame and has felt shame a lot. I think that it is a completely worthless emotion. Whereas guilt, I think, is good. I think sometimes feeling that we've done something wrong, that's something you can learn from, because you're going to try to better yourself so that in the future you're not going to do whatever you did that made you feel this way. And whether or not it was valid or not. So I think that we sometimes feel guilt for things that we probably shouldn't feel guilt for. But I think shame is one of those things that rarely are we fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, fundamentally broken.
Yes, fundamentally broken. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on that. And I mean, do you have any?
Do you want to talk about it, like specifics any at
I don't
all,
know.
Or
So. I mean, for me, look, I was raised Catholic, so of course I have Catholic guilt, which is a really pretty 2-word phrase for shame. it's one of those things that you feel like, well, growing up, oftentimes the feelings I felt towards the same gender was shame. I feel these things because there's something wrong with me. In referring to envy and jealousy, especially envy, when I look at body types and I feel like, oh, I wish I was like that. Then there's that shame because I feel like that. I feel like I wish I looked more like you. So there's something wrong with me. And that's my problem, is that I have shame over that envy. Those two things really go hand in hand. I'm envious of somebody else's body because my body isn't good enough, and I'm ashamed of that, of what I'm presenting.
Or you can broaden that even more and say that you're envious of their situation, whatever the situation may be. And so therefore you're ashamed of yourself because you are not in that situation, whatever the circumstances around it may be.
Yeah.
So then do you think that envy and shame go more hand in hand, and guilt and jealousy go more hand in hand?
For me, absolutely.
I mean, obviously that's a very personal question.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, when we talk about what we did last week with, let's say, the gentleman, me feeling jealous that he may at some point be taking away from us, I feel guilty for having that feeling because I shouldn't feel that way. I want him to be happy. I want him to be fruitful. I want his bed to be plentiful. But then I'm jealous that he could be taken away. So then I'm like, well, I'm guilty for having that feeling. So for me, absolutely, jealousy and guilt go hand in hand, and envy and shame go hand in hand for me.
More so than
more than vice versa.
Yeah.
Because rarely do I feel like
it makes more sense that they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think again from the jealousy point of view. Of him being taken from us. I don't feel shame over that. Like don't think he's not leaving because I'm not good enough. He's leaving because it's better for him.
Yeah.
And that would be more of a guilt thing, that I feel that feeling. Yeah. So yeah. How about you? Do you feel guilt or shame over anything?
Yes. I do have emotions.
Of course you do. But I'll say, you are one that I envy, to, again, judge going back from last week, quite often, in that you rarely project negative emotions. You're rarely angry. You often get frustrated, but that frustration is almost entirely self-directed. You're rarely frustrated with other people. You do have the problem of not understanding where people are coming from. And I sometimes worry that you don't human properly. But but your negative feelings are rare. And I say this with absolute love, and you know that I adore you. You are closer to 7 of 9 from Voyager, Star Trek Voyager. That beautiful Borg, like who's just trying to understand people. You're such and I envy that. But look at there again.
I think for me though, it's that negative emotions don't really benefit me at all. Like, they get me nowhere. They either drag me down, they make me feel bad, they put me in a bad position, they prevent me from doing things. Maybe I treat people differently because of them. There's nothing to be gained from a negative emotion. Obviously overgeneralizing, because sure, some emotions, some circumstances may be different, but in general, negative emotions just really don't do a hell of a lot of good. For me, for anyone, for the situation, whatever. And so, yeah, if I can minimize those, if I can ignore them, get rid of them, shove them away, make them not part of my world, then it does help me. And it puts me in a better headspace. It puts me in a better position. And not to say that everything's always like super hunky-dory or anything, but it does really help, I feel like. But I think that's a conscious decision that I don't really know when that started or why, but it's a conscious decision that I don't like these emotions. I don't like these feelings. I don't like these thoughts. They're just not part of my world. They're gone. And so I do pretty well at shoving those things away because it does make me a happier person and it does influence my world around me, which maybe I'm deluding myself. That's also very possible. And it's not to say, like I said, that everything's always happy and everything's always good, because it's not. But and now I completely forgot where I was going with that. What were you saying? What led up to that?
Look, I was talking about you and your lack of negativity, your lack of negative emotions.
So I will also say, okay, so going to guilt, that I do have, so shame I would say I don't really have much of, because I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of how I act or that kind of thing. Like I feel pretty good about myself and who I am. Does that mean I do everything perfectly? No, it doesn't. And yes, there are times where I do things or say things that possibly could be better, or maybe I didn't do something or say something that I should have. And later on I may feel guilty about that. But I think that's, for me, it's more of a guilt thing, that maybe I think back that I should have said something differently or done something differently. But again, like you said, that's a learning experience. And so if there needs to be ramifications from that, and I need to talk to somebody or take care of a situation, then that's fine. We'll do that. And if not, then I've at least learned that if that scenario presents itself again, I would like to act in a different way. And then hopefully the next time it does, if it ever does, that I would act in a different way. So I will say that I do have guilt at times, but more often than not, because I sometimes speak before I think.
Right, yeah.
And
filter lacking.
Yeah. So it's usually because of that more than anything, but I don't really have a lot of shame, I would say. And I don't, it's funny because you talk about like Catholic guilt, and I sort of get where that comes from, but I don't really get where it comes from, and I don't really understand why it's as ubiquitous as it is. Because it seems like a lot of people who are raised Catholic have that. Well, but surely it exists in other areas as well. Like why?
Well, I'm sure it does, but I think for me, it was one of those things. It's when you are raised in a, like, I think Catholicism specifically, and all religions to a point, but Catholicism specifically, you are in a box. You're drawn into a box, and anytime you start to move outside of that box, it's not you're constantly repenting. And so for me, an act of repentance is not I've done something wrong. It's I am wrong. And I think that's the way it's is
that just how it's taught?
It's taught. It's projected. Yeah. Is that when you repent, it's because you're wrong. You've been bad. And you've got to, because I remember growing up, we went to confession. We're meant to go twice a month. And I know some people went once a week. So that you go in and confess your sins, you go and confess what you've done wrong, and then the priest gives you some prayers in order to make yourself better, to make yourself whole again. Sin takes away from the soul, and that now you're flawed because you're no longer complete. So you have to do these things in order to become complete again, to become whole. And so when you're brought up that way and taught that, and then you come into either our lifestyle, or you start to find attraction to the same sex as your own, that becomes, it's a spiral for me at least.
So I guess the difference then from how I was raised is that it's, for you, I guess there's more penance, whereas for me there's more repentance.
Yes.
And yeah.
To quote Indiana Jones from The Last Crusade, only the penitent man shall pass. But I mean, that's a very good thing. And if I'm probably misquoting, but to paraphrase, even in that scene, only the penitent man shall pass. The penitent man kneels before God. The penitent man kneels. And then, but if you don't kneel, you've lost. Your head gets chopped off. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Last Crusade by now, you should have known. But look, it's very much so that if you aren't penitent, and you die. Yeah. And I think that's important. That's interesting. I don't think that is important. I think that you should totally not, don't judge yourself by Indiana Jones. But it's,
So the whole confession thing, like logistically, how many people are in the church? How long does the average confession take? And if everybody goes weekly, even twice a month, how much time does a priest sit there spending in confessions?
It could be a long fucking time. The church that I went to, the priest was in the confessional for an hour and a half to 2 hours every day. So anybody could come in during that time, and you would pray in a silent church. And when you were ready and you knew that the confessional was empty, you would go and sit and either kneel before the priest, or sit in the confessional next to the priest, which I think is more common and is what is more commonly seen in movies.
That's what we see in movies, yeah.
But you had that option of actually showing yourself to the priest.
Right. So basically not everybody does, though, because still an hour and a half,
Correct.
2 hours a day would not be enough time.
Yeah. But the priest sits in there for that time, waiting for somebody to come.
Wow.
Poor priests.
Wow.
But to talk about going back a bit, and again, admittedly, going back away from the shame and guilt thing, we were talking about even temperaments and how you are very much more even temperamented. And me, I go by the Hamlet quote, I must be cruel only to be kind. Not that I'm mean, but for me, the way when I hear that quote, I feel that he is justifying his extremes. Without these really down lows, you can't have these really up highs. And I've often thought that while you're pretty much consistently a 7.5 on the positivity scale, I go vastly between a 2 and a 9. Like I am either really up and really on, almost manic, bipolar, where I'm not, but where I'm either manically happy and positive to where I am so down and depressed that I have to hold on to something when I'm at the train station to prevent me from being pulled in front of the train. It's funny. I think that I both, gosh, I feel like this could be envy part 2. I'm both envious of your ability to kind of hold that steady as the way. But at the same time, I very much like those really high highs, and I really look forward to those. And I know when I hit them, they're great.
Well, and funny because I'm a bit envious of the fact that you can be, I guess not be, but you can show that much excitement and energy and positivity. Because even I feel like when I'm like super excited about something, it doesn't really show the way it does with you. And I wish I could be better about that. I just have no idea how to do it.
Well, I can tell you that people who know you know when you're excited. But it
doesn't show to other people.
It doesn't show to everyone, no. But I almost think that's a gift. Like, that's a gift you give the people who know you and love you. I think of like Lawrence and Jess definitely know when you're excited. I've seen the way they react around you when you're ecstatic, and that same goes for Leo, the gentleman, and other folks. Like, I think of when we became citizens, you were a different Angela. And all 3 of them who were there, actually there were 4 of us there, but 3 of them knew you well. So it was clear to them that you were bubbly, excited. It was beneath the surface, but it was there. So it's interesting. I always find that interesting.
Different ways,
admittedly, for a very long time, and to bring this back to guilt and shame, for a very long time, I felt shame over that extreme happiness.
Interesting.
Because, I know, bear with me, because so few people allow themselves to show it. So by being this vivacious, bubbly, excited person who is also male identifying, I should say, that made me stand out from everybody. And then that made me different, which made me a problem, which made me need to be fixed. And I know she's rolling her eyes. People can't see it.
I am, because I love that energy, that excitement.
Well, I do now.
Yeah.
I do now because
I'm drawn to people who do show that.
Well, the people around me now give me that space to do it. And I have enough people around me, again, all the people that I've already listed, who encourage that and support that I do it now in front of people I don't even know. So I don't have that shame nor guilt about being happy. But I think a lot of people at least have guilt about being happy, because you look at the world now and news tells us that we don't have a lot to be happy about. But I'm going to argue that news only shows you the negative stuff because that's what sells commercials. So I think that we all have a lot to be happy about and a lot to be ecstatic about. And we shouldn't feel guilty or bad because we are happy. That's...
no, absolutely not. We all deserve to be happy.
We all deserve to be happy, no matter what you see on the news. It's funny. Again, another small tangent, looking at Facebook, one of the complaints that people have about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is that we only show the best of our lives. Well, yeah, but my question then is, how much of that is a stretch?
Yeah.
Like, if you're showing the top 10% of your life, like, if you showed us all of it, would it be that much different? I mean, we all have ups and downs, of course, but
also think about how much more clogged your Facebook feed would be if everybody put everything, not necessarily just good, bad, whatever, but if the good stuff that you post is 10% of your life, if you added, 90% more content, if everybody did that, we would never look at it because it would be too much. I would put that in the too hard basket and say, no, it's too much to go through. I can't look at that.
Agreed. I think the problem is that every time we look at Facebook, we are seeing the positives.
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily from the same person, but you've got maybe 100 friends, and every time you open it up, you're seeing one of those 100 friends and they're positive. And statistically, you're going to look at it at a midpoint or low point of your experience and then say, well, my experience isn't as good as their experience.
See, I see it differently in that, yes, you may see the positive things that come from those people, so they're not necessarily showing you everything that's in their reality. But I think that's okay, because if you're close enough to them, you'll know what's going on anyway. But I think seeing the positive in social media like that is a good thing, because we do see so much negative from the news and from other outlets, that where else do we get positive news from? It is, people showing us the good things that happen in their lives also shows you that there are helpful people out there. There's good people. There's people that are doing things in the community, people that are doing things in the world that are very positive, or they're just in a really happy place, and we want our friends and family and things to be in happy places. And so if that's what shows us the positive things, because the news in other places aren't, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And sure, you can take the stance that I'm not as happy as them, or I'm not, again, the whole envy thing, I'm not whatever that they're doing kind of thing. I'm not in the same place that they are. And that's true, but we all have very different lives. And so you're not gonna ever be in the same place that they are exactly. Yeah. And I think that's okay, as long as you can recognize that that's them and that's a good thing that's happening in this world, and yay for them for having something good happen. Whereas we get so much negative that I think it's okay to have a lot of positivity there.
I agree.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Any other thoughts, feelings over guilt, shame, and positivity or negativity?
Not at the moment.
Yeah,
no.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on that, which I realize I touched on that for half the podcast, but we're going to take a quick break here and let you listen to some of our friends over at Life on the Swing Set talk. And then when we get back, we will talk about Pendulum Party.
Join us on The Wet Coast, a podcast about sexuality and ethical non-monogamy of every variety. We talk polyamory and swinging, monogamish and open relationships, from dirty, dirty sex to heartbreak and everything in between. We share our personal experiences and philosophy, observations and theories, what works for us, and where we fucked it right up. This isn't your average couple's explanabrag podcast, though we definitely do a little of that. We share our adventures in open with a unique, funny, feminist, and Canadian approach. Come get wet with us on the Wet Coast.
And we're back. We're sitting here with our wine.
Yeah.
Angela's folding socks because that's the sexy shit you do. Look, we're real people.
We had a break. We had a break. I was trying
We were on a break.
I was trying to do productive things while we were on a break.
Yeah. There's a stack of socks over there. Yes. Side note, if you don't know anything about me, I don't wear matching socks ever.
No, which is really lovely when it comes to putting them away, because I just shove them all in a drawer.
Yeah, it's
There's
great.
no matching. There's no folding.
Yeah.
They just get shoved in a drawer.
I know there's people out there who are already uncomfortable. They're so uncomfortable. It's really funny. I have a colleague who, even though both of his socks are black, they have to match, like the stitching on the toes have to match. Like he's got black socks with white stitching, black socks with gold stitching, and black socks with black stitching. And he's like, even the stitching has to match. So it's like, nobody knows. He goes, I know. Whatevs. Yeah, the man wants you. That's who wants you to have matching socks. And I'm like, fuck the man. So
Quite literally.
if he's keen, sure. Yeah, speaking of which, let's talk about Pendulum.
Ooh.
So, Pendulum 12.
Yes. So
We've had a dozen pendulums.
A dozen pendulums.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one was, for me, it was a lot of fun, but my timing was a little bit off. So we got there just over an hour late.
Yes.
Or after it started, I should say. I mean, not really late per se, but
Yeah.
so we had a fringe play that we went to first. which-
Arguably, if you are listening to this and you live in Sydney and you're listening to this when it comes out on Wednesday, go see Speed, the movie, the play. It's brilliant.
It was brilliant. It was hilarious. It was cheesy. It was all the good things.
It was on a bus. You do it on a bus. It was great. It was so cleverly done.
Yeah.
But this isn't a theater podcast. I wish it was sometimes, but it's not. God, we should start a theater podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah, so we went to see the play before we went to Pendulum, and so we were just a little over an hour late, or after Pendulum started, I guess at 8:30. We got there about probably 9:40, 9:45. And so we came in, we were relatively dressed down pretty early, because what we had on was a little on the skimpy side, because we knew we were going to be later, that we didn't want to be...
It wasn't on the skimpy side.
Well, it wasn't as
I was wearing pants, leather suspenders, and a leather hat. I looked like a newsie.
Yeah, but that's a really good look. And then I had a dress on that didn't have a lot underneath, because I knew it wasn't going to be on for long, so I didn't want to have too many layers and things.
Oh my God. But that wasn't like, I was still fully clothed for a long time.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, the leather suspenders looked amazing, and the hat.
Thank you.
It was a very
Thank
good
you.
look.
I was digging the sexy
Yeah.
newsy look. I was feeling good about that.
I was too.
Hey, seize the day.
Yeah.
See, another musical reference. I feel like we should give quarters out to people who get my musical references.
So we got to Pendulum about 9:45 or so, and there were already a lot of people there. It was already definitely filling up, which was really cool to see. And so we kind of stowed our stuff away really quickly.
Well, we put our stuff in a locker because one of the lady who's running the door said, "Go, I've got some locker keys behind the bar. Go get you one of those because I'm running low right here." Mm-hmm. So we ran and got a locker key, threw some shit in the locker, and we went off to...
And like 30 minutes later, our locker got taken from us because they were out of lockers.
Yes, and they also took the gentleman's locker because, look, let me tell you a little story. When you sleep with us consistently for a period of time and you go to OSS, if they need your locker, that's one of the negatives of being a persistent partner is
your locker gets stolen.
Your locker gets taken. But they ran out of lockers, and then they took our lockers back. And then they ran out of lockers again, which is a good sign.
Yeah, definitely.
It means there was a bunch of fucking people there.
So I know that there were around 50 or so tickets pre-sold. But then there were a lot of people walking up at the night of... So I have no idea what the final numbers are. I would have said 60 to 70 easy.
Well, in the things that are strange but still happen, we ran into a friend, like literally bumped into her as she was standing on the street corner outside of OSS, and she's like, "Oh, I've been pushing singles your way." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "Yeah, I've got a bunch of single friends. They're across the road now getting alcohol and cash, and I've been telling them they should go." And we were like, "Well, are you going?" She's like, "No." Like, what are you, like our pimp? Like, awesome, but yeah.
Well, admittedly, she had an early morning the next day.
Yeah,
so.
Fair enough. But I just thought that was hilarious to literally
funny.
run into her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've sent like 5 or 6 single women into your club or into your party," and we're like, "What?" It was awesome.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah, epic. Thank you so much. You know who you are.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So we got ourselves a nice beverage and chatted with Lawrence and Jess and the bar staff. We were very lucky in that both Lawrence and Jess were there and 2 other folks working, so that meant that we didn't really have to work. I think I served at most 2 drinks, and then Lawrence kicked me out from behind the bar. Mm-hmm. And then we were introduced to a couple of people, podcast listeners, who one of the ladies behind the bar was introducing us to. She's like, "Oh, you need to meet this person. Oh, you need to meet this person." Mm-hmm. So we did, and it was great. A few like it's so amazing to chat with people on Instagram and then meet them face to face.
Yeah.
Having never met them before. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then we turned the corner into the front lounge room and we saw the gentleman, and suddenly I got all excited and like emotional, and I didn't cry, but I could have cried. What? I could have.
I know
I
you
was
could've.
emotional.
I know.
I was really happy to see him.
Yeah.
And he jumped up, and then basically I hung on him for the rest of the night.
It was good because it was a lovely mixture of, I would have said 40% people who have been to pendulum parties before, and then probably 60% new people.
There was
were
a lot
of new people.
Either new to OSS specifically or new to the pendulum parties.
Yeah. But there was also, I will say that there were, I'm going to say a few people, but one in particular who had been to a party ages ago from out of town, hadn't seen them in forever, and then they showed back up. And admittedly, when they started talking to us, I didn't quite remember, like I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
It took me probably 5 minutes of talking to them, and then I was like, all of a sudden it clicked in my brain. I was like, I know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, but it took me longer than it should have.
So
I
I bumped into this person before you did.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and use a gender pronoun here. He was like, "Hey, Bradford." And I was like, "Hey." I honestly have no idea who you are.
It's been a while. Though.
Yeah. And he introduced himself again. I was like, "Right." And then he gave a little, like maybe a minute of backstory. And I was like, "Oh my God, I know exactly who you are." Very similar to you.
Yeah.
Look, I apologize to everybody. I am terrible with names. I'm pretty good with faces, but I am terrible with names.
Well, once I kind of figured things out, I was like, oh yeah, now I get it. But it just, and the face clicked, everything clicked. But it just, I guess because it had been so long and I was not even thinking in that direction, that it took me a while to put two and two together. Yeah.
So we chatted with a few people and we saw a lot of people that we knew. And again, going back to the beginning of this podcast, I sometimes feel guilty and maybe 10% shame that I don't spread myself out enough in these parties sometimes, because I want to talk to everybody. I really do. But sometimes I don't have enough of me to do it. If that makes sense.
Yes. So I will say that for one thing, it's very easy. I mean, a pendulum party or any other night, it's very easy in social situations like this to start talking to one group of people and stay there. It's very easy to get quote unquote stuck. And we do pretty good at trying to still kind of mingle and move around the group, but it can still be, there might be people that you want to talk to in another area or even another group within the same room. But by the time you finish up a little conversation over here and start to move on, they could be in a different place. They could have moved around. Their conversation could now be a closed group as opposed to an open group. And so there's all kinds of different scenarios. And so I feel like we do a pretty good job at getting around and talking to people and more importantly, making sure that everybody is mingling and not left on the outskirts or anything. But as far as being able to have, talk to everybody there, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're certainly not going to be able to have a meaningful conversation with everyone there because there's just so many people.
And I feel bad about that. Because I feel like that everyone deserves to have a meaningful conversation with us.
Oh my goodness, maybe we need to set up a little confessional booth and everybody can have their minute and a half to 2 minutes with you.
Oh my God. But no, I mean, because I'm not going to say a lot of these people, but there's a lot of these people that want to talk to us and who I've either had an interaction with on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook.
Absolutely.
Or that we've seen before and that are, if not, there's somewhere between acquaintances and friends. And I want to spend time with these people. I want to tell them that they're important and thank you for coming and yada, yada, yada. So I struggle with that at times.
Yeah.
And I was struggling with that for a while because at the same time, I know part of it is my own fault because again, I was hanging on the gentleman. There was something that I needed to be close to him. And it was so nice. I always enjoy those moments where he and I can be affectionate to one another in front of other people. I think it's a gift that we aren't often given. And so I like to take advantage of that when I can. And I was being very selfish on Friday night in that I was trying to do that at every moment I could.
Yeah.
So it was. And
it can also be, especially if people don't know us that well, it can be hard for them to come up and just kind of interject themselves and to make, be a little more forward with
I feel like we got to talk to almost everybody I wanted to talk to.
We did talk to a lot of people, yeah.
And had some good conversations, good jokes, good laughing. Like, yeah.
There was a lot of laughing.
There was a lady with the scary girl tattoo. I love it. That whole interaction was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a scary girl. It's a scary lady on my back. I'm like, it is. I kind of like it, but I don't understand it. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But so we had some good conversations. We saw some people we hadn't seen in ages, and you were like, "It's time to dress down." And it was 10:37. You were like 7 minutes late.
I was late because we were late getting there. But I was close, you know.
You were close. It was almost 10:30.
Yeah.
So we went and dressed down.
And there were other people dressed down at that point.
Yes.
So we weren't the
You
only
weren't the
ones.
first.
No.
Yeah. I say we. You. I say you. We weren't the first.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. Everybody wants to see you dressed down. So we dressed down, went back out and started chatting with folks. And you were like, let's go upstairs. Like,
Well, I
look,
didn't-
there's like a trillion people downstairs.
I didn't say let's go upstairs as if to play at first. I mean, that's certainly the ultimate intent. But it was more, I wanted to see what the spaces looked like and see if anybody was up there yet.
Yeah.
Getting things going and kind of scope out which direction we might want to go, like to the orgy room at the back or all the other playrooms at the other side.
And I think at that time, there were probably 5 to 7 people upstairs.
Nope. There were 3 in the orgy room, and that was it.
Oh,
the
so-
other side was completely empty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. And so I was like, well, it's still busy downstairs. Let's grab another drink. Because at that point, I hadn't had any alcohol. And I was like, let's grab another drink. We'll have a drink downstairs, and then we'll go upstairs. From the time I got literally a double bourbon on ice, from the time I started drinking that to the time it was done, everybody from downstairs went upstairs. I have no idea how this happened.
There was one person left downstairs besides us.
Yeah. And we're like,
Well, I say besides us, but it was you and I and
The gentleman.
and then there was another
friend of ours.
Yeah.
And then there was maybe 2 other people, but then they left to go upstairs.
Yeah, so literally everyone else went upstairs. And it was like, well, let's go play, but now we're probably not going to be able to find a spot.
So we went to the back room, the front rooms, and there was no way we were going to find a spot.
Oh my goodness. So the shackle room was packed.
I think there was probably 12 people in the shackle room.
Yeah, the
petite room had 3 people in it, but they had the chain up so you couldn't come in. And then the new orgy room had, between that and it was like 16 people.
It was easily.
It was crazy.
And then the massage table area had people. It was completely packed up there. So then we went back down to the
orgy
other side.
room.
Yeah, to the big orgy room that we like. And
There were 8 people in there when we got there.
I would have said 8 to 10.
Yeah.
But they were.
And we were 4 of us, so it wasn't a small crowd.
Yeah, but they were not using the bed efficiently, to which the gentleman made a lovely comment about the fact that...
No, it wasn't the gentleman.
It
was the other.
Okay.
So
We need
a name for them. Another penis owner. It was Angela and
Wait.
3 penis owners. Squidward. You're now Squidward. It makes me happy. He's a cuttlefish. They're a cuttlefish. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at gender.
pronouns.
Gender pronouns. Anyway, so the 4 of us went upstairs, and the rooms were full. So,
But the orgy room was the least packed.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And Squidward was like, well, this is a poor and insufficient use of spacing. Which I was like, oh my God, are you going to file a report? But it was funny.
It was funny.
So we managed to secure 2 people sitting on the end of a bed and 2 people on the floor.
So we basically had 2 little ass spaces at the end of the bed, and that was it.
Yeah, and then the floor in front of those ass spaces. So I sat down. Actually, the gentleman started going down on me while we were standing up. And it's really funny. It makes me so uncomfortable. I hate... Oh, he's going to listen to this and feel guilty, and I don't want him to feel bad because it's just me. I hate having someone go down on me when I'm standing up in front of a group of people because it feels so selfish.
Do you feel like you're showing off?
No, because I like showing off. I want to be the one going down on somebody in front of a group of people. It's only when somebody's going down on me in front of a group of people. Because
you don't want to show your own pleasure to other people?
I don't feel like I have a lot to show off to a bunch of people.
But if it's in his mouth, nobody knows what you got.
No, it's not even that. It's like the whole body thing. Like, shut up. I can't help with how I feel.
I know.
But I know, like I like to give off a good show, and so like I'm okay with the inverse. But yeah,
But you can give off a good show while receiving as well.
it's so hard for me. It's hard for me.
You can do the porn star thing, be like, yeah.
Do that again. Yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult for me. So I was very uncomfortable with that, but I'm not going to say I suffered through it. I enjoyed it for a while, and then I was like, "All right, stand your ass up." It's like let's do the opposite. And then so that was great. And then you and Squidward were on the bed, and that was hot. Like that was hot because I love watching them with you because I'm always afraid that you're really going to hurt them. This is a human that really likes to be hurt.
Yes, and I have not really hurt this person.
It's only a matter of
because
time.
I was going to say, I don't feel like... So this is a little tangent we're going to take for a moment.
Okay.
So for me, I feel like the BDSM play that we do, specifically impact play, I feel is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we tend to do more in closed situations.
Private.
Yes, more private situations. And so it's either us and a few partners or whatever. And we will occasionally, play in the voyeur room at our secret spot, but rarely.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if someone wants a little something, but to then really make that connection, which I feel like I can do and do with Squidward. Is that what we're calling them? Okay.
From SpongeBob.
Right. So Squidward. So I feel like I do and very easily can make that connection with them, but to do that to the point of then being able to really fully engage, it's a different scenario for me. And I can do it and I will do it if that's what they want. But I don't feel like in that scenario, I like the push-pull. I like that tease.
Yeah.
And
you do that well
especially that was early in the night, so I didn't feel like I'd really built up to anything too far at that point. But yeah, like I said, I don't mind like the whole BDSM thing and impact play and whatnot in front of other people. But to me, then it's more of a show thing than a here, let's really connect thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I do think it would be fun to watch you transition that line into fully connection impact play.
Agreed.
With this human.
Agreed.
Because they're fun to see tortured. I've seen them tortured by more permanent partners. Thank you. I was going to say consistent. I was like, that's not the word I'm looking for. Partners. And it's fun to watch that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe in the future. So,
but yeah, we'd started out on the bed, so I was one of the lucky ones that got a little ass spot on the end of the bed.
Yeah, you and the gentleman.
I know. And so
I like being on the floor. There's something really nice about that.
Did you need your little collar on?
Almost, probably. Hell, I don't know. Yeah. Yes, probably, yes.
Which, by the way, got a new collar.
I did get a new collar!
Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, yeah. Anyway.
So Squidward was going down on me, and that was fantastic. And then fingering me and things. And then I felt a little guilty because, I want something in my mouth, and, you're doing all the work here. I want to reciprocate. Yeah. So then we flipped around.
So, admittedly, I think we flipped around at some point as well.
It was around the same time.
Yeah, and there was another lady that we had met, and we had met her partner, or at least who she came with, or who we will from now on call their partner. We met her partner before, and I think he's cute. I really like he's I say this in the most lovable way. He's like this big dorky goofy guy, and I'm like, I'm kind of into you. But unfortunately, didn't get to connect with him at all. We had some conversation with him, but I mean, he was busy with two other ladies.
He was buried under people.
Yes, he was buried under people. And then she had, by the time that I kissed her for the first time, she had been doggy style with 3 different guys. And which to me is such a fucking turn on. Like, I love that. And so really all I wanted, even again, protected sex with the 3 fellas, but all I wanted was her to sit on my face. So we kissed a bit, and I know that she kissed the gentleman a bit, and then the gentleman looked at her and he goes, will you go down on me? And she said, yes. And as she was switching, I was like, I have time. I'm going to make this happen. And I said, will you sit on my face? Well,
so she was sitting on your face while going down on the gentleman.
Yes. But in the meantime, you had left Squidward and had sat on me, but in reverse cowgirl. So I'm sitting on the edge of a bed.
So I sat on you reverse cowgirl before she sat on your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
I had my back to you when I heard you ask.
It is very much one of those things that I can do reverse cowgirl probably indefinitely. Mm-hmm. Like it's something that unless you're really working at it, you're not going to get me off that way. Mm-hmm. I love the view, but it's just not going to send me over the edge. So I was sitting on the edge of the bed. I was kind of playing with your tits and I was like, oh, sit on me. So you sat down, reverse cowgirl. And then there was another fella who we were both interested in. Yeah. And I said, come bring him over and go down on him.
So side note, I had noticed him being around the edge. He was around the edge earlier, but then got invited in, I think, by the one who ended up sitting on your face.
Yes, he was the first one to fuck her.
Yeah, and so, but then he was around again, and I was trying to find a time to invite him in or a way to invite him in, but for a bit, there wasn't a logical way for me to, and I was trying to get your attention to say, hey, invite him in somehow.
Oh, see, I was just looking at you I was waiting for you. I was like, why is she not going, oi, boy, bring that over here?
Yeah, because I didn't have I'm going to say an orifice, a way to play. I didn't have a way to do anything with him. And so.
That's so funny, because I was just expecting, knowing you, I was so surprised. I was like, why doesn't she he was just out of reach. All you had to do was lean forward and grab at him.
I would say he was a little too far, and I was trying to get your attention to pull him in, but that's okay. It worked out. So we did pull him in eventually.
Yeah, you pulled him in because I was busy talking to the pretty lady who was then. So I just want to describe this scene because I know what this looked like. And I wish this is one of those. Rarely do I wish I had a picture of a scene, but this is one of those scenes where I know the gentleman was laying down. Uh-huh. He had a woman on all fours going down on him, but she was sitting on my face. Then I was on my back, going up on her, down on her. I don't know. You were sitting on my cock and going down on another human. Yeah, and going down on another fella. So. That, in my mind, is one of those, this is amazing. It was the best porn human centipede that I'd ever, that we've been part of. That's a lot of people. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
There were also other hands and things playing with my nipples.
See, I couldn't see any of that. Yeah. But yeah, that was epic. And we sat like that for a while because, look, was I interested in having sex with a woman? Yes. But really, I'm not sure I had anything to offer her after the 3 guys that had already, had sex with her. But I know where my skills are, and I was like, that's why I was like, I wiped her seat off. Uh-huh. It was amazing. Yeah, and that was such a fun experience. And that went on for 10, 15 minutes? Yeah. It felt like a while.
Yeah, I have no idea how long we were actually up there all told, but after a while of that, I was like, I'm really enjoying going down on this person. I'm really enjoying riding you, but I'm also getting really thirsty. I need a water break. So I think I stood up at some point and said something about, I need a bit of break.
You got off of me literally seconds after she was like, I need a break.
Okay. I couldn't hear anything behind there.
So, so when she got off of me and I was like, are you okay? She's like, yes, I just need a break. And I think she was looking for a smoke break. Mm. And then you got off and I was like, are you okay? You're like, I'm very thirsty. Cool. So
like Marge Simpson's sisters.
Yeah, basically you were
Selma and Petty.
Yeah. So we went down, took a break, went down, got some water, chatted again, and then went back up to the front rooms and ended up in we were going to go into the second orgy room, but it was fucking packed. But literally in seconds, we were on the massage tables. I think you were sitting on my face. Well, we were all playing the gentleman, you and I, Squidward, and another fella who is a regular at Pendulum So we were all sort of playing, and then the gentleman ended up...
I think we realized, though, that there was no other place to play.
Yes.
But there was an empty massage table, and
yes.
it was kind of like, all right, we can make use of this.
So I got on the massage table on my back and was like, sit on my face, because I'm never sick of someone sitting on my face. And so you did. I have no idea what was happening beyond that, because you were facing forward, not towards my junk. So it wasn't 69.
No.
But then the other fella, the new fella, suddenly came up and started playing with my cock. And I was like, whoa. That was a weird thing, because I was like, who's touching me? I don't know who's touching me.
Because I remember you, of course, going down on me, and something was different. And so I kind of sat up just a little bit off your face.
Yep.
And you were like, who is that? And I looked back and I was like, it's fine. And
yeah, but I was like, but who is it?
Yeah.
And then you kind of leaned forward and I could see in the mirror and I'm like, okay, it is fine. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm okay
I
with
lifted
this
up
person.
just a little bit more so you could see.
So, but at that point, the gentleman had been, I don't want to say kidnapped, but he had been sex-napped by another couple.
That was before I got on your face.
See, I didn't even see any of that happening.
So
I don't know what I was doing.
So because he was, I'm going to say, on the outer skirts of our tiny little group there. And there was another couple on the other massage tables, but I think they were just kind of sitting.
Yeah, I think they were. Yeah,
kind of
I think what happened was the gentleman who tends to take the boy is sexy as hell, but he takes up a lot of space and he is very loud. And whenever he's doing anything, so I'm thinking that he probably entered their space and they were like, "Oh, you've entered this is our territory. We are going to touch you because you are now in our territory." And he was like, "Oh, I'm being touched by somebody in new territory. I found new territory. I'm going to fuck that territory." And that's pretty much what happened, because when I finally got off the massage table, I looked back and the new couple were 69 and the gentleman was fucking the lady while the guy was going down on her and him at the same time, which awesome. That's a fun position to be in either.
And I don't remember the exact timing of it, because I know that I played with Squidward there a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it was a bit more in just, I'm going to say, kind of heavy petting, teasing.
Well, you and Squidward were playing while me and the other fella were standing back on the other massage table after it had been vacated by gentleman and his new trio. Okay. And both of us were giving each other hand jobs. And then I started going down on him for a little while. And he stopped me. And then he looked at me and you were bent over Squidward. And he looked at me and goes, "Fuck her." I was like, all right.
So I completely missed your hand job thing. But
it happened for a while.
I do remember you coming up behind me, because all of a sudden there's this penis trying to poke inside me. And normally you touch me first, so I know that it's your... I know
Oh,
you're
yeah, you didn't know it was me?
I didn't know it was you.
Oh.
So there's just this penis coming at me, and so I kind of like sat up for a second, turned around, and I was like... And you're like, it's me, it's fine. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I did say that, yeah.
Yeah, because normally...
Fair enough, yeah.
I can tell you're...
Yeah, no, but he was like, fuck her, and I'm like, I am gonna fuck her.
Yeah, because usually you'll like stroke my back or put your hands on me, so I know it's you. And
so the problem was I was really close to coming, like multiple times, and this fella, I don't think he's a podcast listener, but if he is, you're very cute. I really like you quite a lot. Use some lube. All you need is a little lube. That's all we need.
For the hand job.
Yeah. It was a dry hand job, it was a good hand job, but it was a dry hand job. But I really, this is someone, I'm feeling like we should probably just text and say, hey, we need to get together, the three of us, because I do really like him. And I'm very much interested in him topping me. I don't know if he's interested in that, but I feel like this is a conversation we should probably have, off podcast. Anyway, but he was like, fuck her. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to fuck her. So I did. And it was one of those, like, within 30 seconds, I was like, I'm going to come. So I came on you. And then, as you do, I licked it off. As I do. I licked it off.
So you licked it.
And like, he was like, that was amazing. I'm like, it was amazing. Thank you for directing it.
Yeah, because you licked off the cum, and then I think it was Squidward. Somebody put their hand on my back and said something about, I think you missed a spot, but it was actually, I think, just still wet from you licking it off.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Yeah, so we had a lot of jokes and laughs about that one.
Yeah, and about that time,
and the gentleman was still over on the orgy bed.
Yeah, about that time he was just finishing up at on the orgy bed, and we were like, all right, cool. Well, we did stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. Yeah.
It's good, though, because I will say that I did see, just overall throughout the club that night, I saw a lot of play, but a lot of different types of play. And I think that was, for me, what was really exciting was seeing just at least from appearances, people seem to be comfortable and seem to be just kind of engaging in all kinds of different play. There's a lot of same-sex play. Of course, there was, opposite-sex play. But it was just, it was really good to see that. And I feel like there were more puppy pile types of situations than what I often see.
I think that's exactly what you said. And it's like, I always loved going to OSS, but my favorite times are always those puppy piles. Mm-hmm. You don't always see those, but Friday night was one of those, like, every time we saw people playing, it was a puppy pile sort of situation. Yeah. And it's such an amazing thing to see. And, like, I almost feel like from what we saw Friday night, it should no longer be called Pendulum. It should be called Gender Blender. Because, like, literally, half the time it didn't matter. It was like you just put a bunch of humans in a blender and turned it on for a second. It was like, however it came out,
however
came
it
out.
mixes up,
Yeah, it was amazing. So, Friday was such a success in that we ran out of lockers early. We had lots of people chatting and talking to one another. It was so chill. The number of the people who I had spoken to on Instagram who came up to me and were like, you were right. This is such a chilled situation. Yeah. And the people who were nervous coming into it and then told us that this is such an approachable group. It was great. It felt really good to sort of be behind that and to hear that. I don't think you hear that enough.
And I will say that while I feel like you were really, I don't want to say clingy, but you wanted to be close to the gentleman for much of the night. I feel like you were in a really good headspace.
Which is rare for me. Yeah.
I know. And one of the folks behind the bar, she and I were talking about that after our first play session when we came down for some water and a bit of a break. And she asked if we were having fun. I said, yeah, we've been upstairs, which I think she knew that because they all know that.
Yeah.
And, they all keep an eye on what's going on. But so I said, yeah, we've been upstairs and, just come down for a break. And I said, we may end up back upstairs again at some point, but I'm not really sure if you'll be in the headspace for it. But I was really happy that you were at least in the headspace enough to go play and have some fun once that night.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that's really great. And we're talking about that. And then we ended up a second time and I was like, yes, it's like twice in a pendulum night.
Which is rare. And,
I know.
And I know it's rare. I don't honestly think there's been a pendulum party since it started that I was as comfortable and confident as I was on Friday night.
Yeah.
And some of it, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Some of it is body image issues and taking care of that, looking at, we've worked very hard at the gym and I'm not one, like, I don't care what my partners look like at all. Be it gender or body shape or anything. But for me,
but you want to feel good about yourself.
And I don't think I felt as good about myself as I had on Friday night. Which that's exciting. And that was good. And again, having the gentleman there, and it's funny. I think I'm still in I will always be in this headspace, I think, but I'm still in a strange headspace where I'm like, of course you love me. We're of different genders, but the fact that he likes me and we're in the same gender, that's something it will always be odd to me to have somebody of a similar gender think I'm attractive, and want to show me off. I think that's the thing. Like that he wants to parade me around is so much different than you wanting to parade me around. And I don't know if that makes sense, because I guess the equivalent would be if we had a female friend that wanted to parade you around. This is going to sound silly, but it goes back to that sort of Disney princess feel. It makes me feel pretty, and there's like, I like that, and it makes me feel good. And I admit that I don't like that I have this sort of gender specification over something like this, but I also can't help that's the way I feel. And I'm very much my feelings must be valid. So if you don't like it, go stuff yourself. But I was in a very good headspace.
Yeah. It was really good to see.
It was a perfect storm of things, I think, that happened.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I think this was the most fun I'd had on a pendulum night, because consistently, because there's been pendulum parties where I've had a lot of fun, But
you also stress a bit.
But I'm always stressing a bit. And this one, I didn't stress hardly at all.
No.
There was a few moments where I was a little stressed, but I managed to keep that under control. So, yeah. It was good. It was fun. And I'm sorry you missed it if you missed it. Mm-hmm. But the next one will likely be at the end of November.
2 months, yeah. We'll get exact dates out.
Yeah, we need to talk to the law and figure it out when it's going to be. Do you have any final thoughts about Pendulum Party?
No.
No?
I mean, it was fantastic.
You ended up
I think we've already talked about it.
I think you had like 1 billion orgasms.
I think so.
I was trying to count and I lost count. And once it gets to double digits, I always lose count.
And then we came home and you were like, we need to have sex again.
We really did. So yeah, we came home and we got home at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, I'm hungry. And I'm like,
I was hungry.
I'm like, all right, well, what do we have? You're like, I bought chicken nuggets. I'm like, all right, cool.
Because we had nothing else that didn't require cooking, so we waited and fixed up some chicken
So
nuggets.
we turned the oven on, and look, the oven takes between 8 and 10 minutes to come to temperature. So I was like, hey, do you want a bone? and you were like, the look you gave me, you were like, and I was like, what are we going to do while the oven comes to the temperature? Like, seriously, watch YouTube videos? And you were like, all right.
I was thinking message Mr. and Mrs. H, but we went and boned instead.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, you were like, okay. And you just got naked and bent over the bed and you're like, whatever. And I'm like, you need to at least say hello to the penis. And you were like, hello, penis. And then I was like, all right, bend over. It was great.
I will say that is one of the good things about having friends in like really different time zones. So like whether it be Europe or the US, is that if we do get home at 3 a.m. and either can't go to sleep or we're waiting on the oven to heat up while we eat some chicken nuggets, before going to bed, then you can still sit and have conversations and, have some good laughs and fun times before that.
Wait, how does this, but we were boning.
Yeah, but that was the alternative to boning, was actually talking to people that we like.
You mean other than having sex with people we don't like? Thanks a lot, babe. Look, I had fun. It was like,
I enjoyed it as well.
I orgasmed, and I'm pretty sure you did too. But beyond that, yeah. Fucking bitch. We have had a lot of sex this weekend.
We have. It's been a good sexy weekend.
It's been a good sexy weekend. All right, cool.
We're not talking about that.
No.
Other than Pendulum.
Yeah, sorry, fuckers. Yeah, let's wrap this mother up. Okay. So if you want to tell us about your sexy weekend or explain to us why you were not at Pendulum Party, please send us a message, theatomsoflove@gmail.com, or you can message us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. We are at By the By Podcast. I will say, spoiler alert, we are the worst at responding to Facebook messages just because of the way Facebook worked. It's hard to see those messages.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't do very well with that.
Between the fucking Pages app and Facebook itself, it's hard to see who's messaging you. So we apologize if we haven't gotten back to you. Instagram is the best. Twitter is the second best. So when it comes to messaging, I will say.
Or emails if it's lengthy.
Emails if it's lengthy. Please email us. theatomsoflove@gmail.com. Yeah. If you want to support us, we are on Patreon, www.patreon.com/bythebypodcast. Yeah. And if you want some, kinky, geeky sex toys, which they're amazing, that is geekysextoys.com. Use the offer code BYTHEBY to get yourself a hefty 5% discount. And they do ship worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
Thanks for joining in.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Hi, this is Dedeker, co-host of the Multiamory podcast. We offer new ideas and advice for multiple forms of love. Everything from conscious monogamy to ethical polyamory and radical relationship anarchy. And you're listening to a Swingset Network podcast. Find us and much more at swingset.fm.